All right, y'all. Most of y'all have probably never heard of this name in your entire life. Anthony Stanley. But I promise you, by the end of this video, you will not forget it. He's worked with some of the biggest names in the entire music industry. And what he saw with his own two eyes, what he experienced, what he witnessed, is going to leave you speechless. Because that's exactly what happened to me. I was blessed enough to have a conversation with him one-on-one. And what he told me directly, most of y'all just flat out are not going to believe it. And it really got me thinking. This music, this industry, hip hop, rap music, I grew up on it. It was literally my first love when it came to music. It shaped and molded a lot of who I was throughout my childhood. That's how much I would listen to rap music. Some people would probably say that I was worshiping at the level that I was listening to rap music. And I think a lot of us could probably agree that we may have had similar experiences with rap music early on in our life, or maybe there might be some of y'all who still have that relationship with rap music to where you just can't help but keep going back to it, even though you know better, even though you know it doesn't glorify God, even though you know in your heart that the spirits behind the music are not of God. But in this video, you're going to see just how dark those spirits actually are. And I promise most of y'all are not ready for it. Now, we're going to get to my conversation with Anthony Stanley. But first, I need to show you something because this is really how this entire video started, with this clip right here. Kevin Gates, very well-known, famous rapper in the industry right now. He was on Paul Pierce's podcast and he said something crazy. But honestly, it's not the words that he said, because I'm used to it at this point. I'm used to hearing all this crazy, blasphemous, antichrist type of spirit behavior. I'm used to it at this point. Like, nothing really surprises me. But the level of conviction that he said it with, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, that kind of surprised me. Take a listen.
Sometimes we're not protective of our energy in the way that we should be, because sometimes I say, I'm held responsible for the places that I place myself. But that's physically.
Right.
But I've been working with this other guy. You know what the fascia is?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been working on releasing certain traumas in your fascia.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been working on that. And he told me something that was so beautiful. He said the physical, the mental, the spiritual is all one system. If one thing's off, everything's off. And I said, wow. And it intrigued me to the point I was like, I'm not overprotective of myself where I place myself energetically and spiritually and psychologically. I need to start being more cognitive in these areas. Physically, I know certain areas and certain places I'm not going to place myself, but it's certain places I shouldn't even place myself energetically.
I never thought
or
about
spiritually, or psychologically. And I was like, you know what? It's not because I feel like I'm better. It's because I know I am.
Are you an angel?
What you just said?
Are you an angel?
I'm the angel of fear.
The
What's
angel,
that?
The angel of fear.
you're the angel of fear. That's what
Yeah. Those who
understand
know.
what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes, sir. He who opposes us in his heart,
Do you let people know?
fear shall overtake him.
Do you let people know that? Do you tell people that?
Those who have eyes, let them see. And those who have ears, let them hear. It ain't for me to put it there. They know the voice of their shepherd when I'm on location.
They know the voice of their shepherd when I'm on location. What kind of spirit is that? Paul Pierce says, and I don't know why he even was prompted to even say this, but he says, are you an angel? Kevin Gates says, I'm the angel of fear. And then follows up by saying that they know the voice of their shepherd. when they hear it. This sent me down a rabbit hole of research to try to find out how dark is hip hop really? Because we see things, we hear things, we see the clips, we see the TikToks, we see the IG reels, we see the YouTube videos, we see all the stuff. But how dark is hip hop really? And then I stumbled across this clip by G. Craig Lewis, who was just on the We Need to Talk podcast. Excellent podcast, by the way. G. Craig Lewis, for those of you who do not know, he has probably the most well-known ministry exposing hip hop. So much so that he would travel around the world, and he's going to tell the story, but he would travel around the world before social media, delivering the message, exposing hip hop, and people would not believe him. I don't know if they didn't want to believe him because they were in so much bondage to the music themselves, or they just simply could not wrap their mind around the truth that there is a spiritual element operating behind the scenes of hip hop music. Now, I'm going to play this brief clip. This is G. Craig Lewis talking about the early days in his ministry. And I want you to pay close attention to what he says, because he says one phrase that I probably will never forget in my entire life. All right? Take a listen.
Because nobody could see it. It just did not exist. So they thought I was crazy. But God trusted me with that information to the point. There was no social media back then.
Nope.
But he took me all over the world. All over the world.
So we were in our bubble, so we don't know how big X Ministries got and the message got. You were traveling.
All over the world. It was the biggest black message at the time. Like, I couldn't go into a town without seeing a magazine or something on the shelf with my picture on it. Like, it was like that. Oprah Winfrey and Russell Simmons and Steve Harvey and Tavis Smiley, all those guys called me for interviews. Like, it was that big. I turned them all down because God didn't want me. The message was for the church.
Right.
You know, I'm not going on Oprah show and
Oprah.
talking about truth behind hip hop.
Right.
Talking about the truth behind Oprah. Right. You know, so it was never about, it was never about me going out and just trying to get famous. You know, it was always about the church being warned, because when the spirit comes in, it's going to affect the church. It's going to birth, it's going to be birthed into kids in the church, the youth. And then those youth are going to grow up and become pastors. And they're gonna be expressing the hip hop culture from the pulpit.
Oh my gosh.
And then you have, total debauchery. And so that was God's warning. He was warning the church what was coming.
You're saying a few things, and I don't want to jump all around, but you talk about hip hop culture, and there was in the messages you would talk about, it's not just the music, but everything from the dress, the things, the language, and all of that. When you go back, when you look at the origins of hip hop, some would say, but there was a time though that hip hop culture wasn't what it is now. Like, was hip hop corrupted, or was hip hop always on its way towards corruption? Like, was it good at the foundations? Meaning, if we were to go back to where hip hop was at its inception, would it then be something that could be acceptable?
Not at all. Hip hop was corrupt in its creation because the creators and founders of it were corrupt. So Afrika Bambaataa went to Africa and he learned the ways of the Zulus. The Zulus are into ancestral worship. He brought those spirits back and began to make raps and beats about how those spirits, how powerful they were. That's what Planet Rock is about. Planet Rock, don't stop, rock to Planet Rock. That's basically false god worship rock, because the planets into the Zulus were considered gods. And so from the beginning, it's been corrupt. When I was trying to explain it, people was like, oh, no, it's just beats. No, it's not beats. If you know anything about frequency, you know that it's never just beats. It's never just music. Music carries the heart of the author that created it. And the best example of that is in the Bible. King David, when Saul was troubled by the evil spirit, David just played. He didn't have to sing. He played, but because of his heart and his disposition, the spirit came and soothed the evil spirit and chased it away. That's because of who David was, a man after.
Music carries the heart of the author who created it. He said, it's never just beats. It's never just beats. It's never just beats. Music carries the heart of the author who created it. I think we all have to consider that. Whenever we put anything on, regardless of what it is, we all have to consider that statement. Tasha K just had a conversation with a literal witch. Here's the crazy part. We have G. Craig Lewis has an entire ministry exposing the spiritual element, the demonic spiritual element behind hip hop. And then you have a literal witch, right? Who goes by the name of Satan, who is obviously very different from a spiritual standpoint than G. Craig Lewis. Extremely different, but on the opposing side. Although she says that she's a good witch. I was using air quotations for those of you who are just listening. I know there ain't no such thing as no good witch. You know what I'm saying? But you know what's so crazy? When you listen to this clip, they agree on this topic. And that's even more revealing. That you have somebody who is a Christian, a man after God's own heart, exposing the wicked and evilness behind the spirits that are operating and running hip hop. And then you have a literal witch who can agree on this topic. If that doesn't open your eyes, I'm not sure what will. Take a listen.
Everything you watch is subliminal when you think about it. Your music is subliminal, you know, the 808s, all the beats, everything. They are 100% controlling us. Yes. So if you know that you're being controlled, now you can't be controlled anymore. But if you don't know, they can continue to control you. And that's what's happening to everyone. That's why you get a certain feeling when you listen to certain music. It's frequencies.
No, I do know that. I have a talent show that we just started called Shoot Your Shot. And there was a guy that was singing on what I only heard it like once before, and it was when Halle Bailey was singing a song that she released, but it was like a frequency that almost made me cry.
Oh, an angelic frequency.
Yeah, like they call it like God's frequency or something like that.
Yes.
And I'm like, damn, like this is very empowering. Like, and it was just his voice. It was incredible. A black kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that. And then when I listened to, rap music, I used,
It make you angry.
It does.
It make you
And
angry.
sometimes I like that feeling. I ain't gonna lie. I be in the car with my future on.
Yes.
I'm a young thug and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these guys done.
They know what they're doing. Yeah, the executives. When you're like, why would they put this out? Everything behind that is strategic. They're not just putting it out to put it out, babe.
So what about
Everything behind it is strategic. Talking about rap music, right? What did G. Craig Lewis said? He said, it's never just beats. It's never just beats, right? She said they know what they're doing when they put this out. It's strategic. They know exactly what they're doing. 3 6 Mafia. Iconic rap group from Memphis. Iconic. And really, 3 6 Mafia has shaped a lot of the sound that we hear today, and a lot of the most poppin' artists, like a Playboy Cardi, for example. I can hear a lot of inspiration in what Playboy Cardi is trying to produce, stemming from the stage that 3 6 Mafia really built in the rap industry. But when you think about it from the standpoint of what she just said, everything's strategic. It's meant to make you feel angry. It's strategic. If you've never seen this clip before, let me just prepare you. You're never going to listen to rap music the same. You actually probably will never listen to any music the same after you hear this clip. I'm just going to warn you. Now, Koopsta was an original member of 666 Mafia. An original member. This is from his documentary that he put out on his YouTube channel. And he's talking about the early days of his life where he was growing up, and he went through a lot of hard stuff, went through a lot of struggle, went through a lot of pain, was a foster kid, lost family members, just struggle, hard times. And I want you to listen to what he says about God, because when he's going through this hard time, he's just a teenager. He's like 12, 13 years old, living on his own on the street, struggling. And people are coming up to him, telling him about Jesus, telling him about God. And I want you to listen to exactly what he says.
Okay. Then people come telling me about, Jesus and God got this plan for my man. F God, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you're 13, you don't know where because you came back to Memphis and this happened. I don't know nothing about this city. You know what I'm saying? I know I got family, but they didn't keep me. Everybody else, I think I was the first person on foster care. So I just left and ran. So I'm 13, can't get a job. It's cold outside, raining and shit. So I vowed then. I said, man, dude, because I didn't get it. Everybody told me, I said, Jesus, man, what is it? Who is that? Well, Jesus put you through. Did you see this? Jesus put you through trial. I'm 13. He got a God, got a what God? I never saw this motherfucker. You mean I pray to and get our last money to in church and we come home with a motherfucker? You talking about white dude with the hair and shit? Or you talking about David, Daniel, Mark, Luke, all them European things? You get what I'm saying? I don't, man, fuck them niggas, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm dead serious. I don't hear that fake ass preacher getting in church, but God gonna do this and he got the son, he laid the path. Man, is you motherfucker crazy? You know what I'm saying? What about now? Okay, give me some money, give me an apartment. Well, son, just have patience, God, man, lick my nigga. And it just angered me, and it angered me, and it angered me. And every time I see these TV shows, this nigga coming out the sky, and these black folks jumping up and down, talking about, hallelujah, hey, you got the Holy Spirit. Well, you got the spirit of when you happy. You gonna jump up and down anyway. You know what I'm saying? And then we paying tithes to who? God don't need no money. I'm just saying, if you got what? God is a title to me, so I don't believe in none of this. I believe it's one big being or maybe many, or maybe a she. You get what I'm saying? But I don't follow no program from people who are killers. You know what I'm saying? I don't follow none of that. This pissed me off. I said, fuck God. I got him. I met Paul Beauregard in a shot class.
So this is a very interesting part of the story. So he's explaining where he met DJ Paul in school in a shop class, right? And I want to remind you of something, because this sets up what we're going to talk about. I made a video talking about DJ Paul. He was on a podcast, Dumb Blonde podcast, and she just flat out asked the question, like, hey, a lot of people say that you guys are satanic. Your name is 3-6 Mafia. So, like, are you guys satanic? Are you devil worshipers? Like, what's really the deal? And I want you to listen to exactly what DJ Paul says. Very closely. Very closely. Because Koopsta is going to expose everything that DJ Paul says. And it's extremely eye-opening. All right? Take a listen.
I know Lord Infamous has gone on record to say that he dabbled in like Satanism and all that stuff.
Yeah, he didn't do that for real.
He didn't?
Hell no.
I just watched an interview with him last night where he was talking about how he went to hell and demons were torturing him, and like it was crazy. And I was
he
like,
was just high.
Okay.
I grew up singing Amazing Grace in the church, and I was playing the organ. Everybody know that. I was in the church every Sunday in Mississippi. It don't get no more churchier than a Mississippi church.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you call him out like that, though. You're like, no, that's my brother. Nope, he grew up singing Amazing Grace. So there was no real satanic reasoning behind the name.
No.
The lore has always just kind of like your reputation precedes you.
Yeah. It was just an image. It was just something that was cool.
Right.
Like I said, we did, study like killers and stuff like that, but we never studied Satan or any of that. I don't know nothing about all that.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about all that. This is DJ Paul, an original member of 666 Mafia, right? Lord Infamous, Koopsta, original members of 666 Mafia. Listen to what he has to say.
I don't know what other guys will come tell you, hey, well, now we want, man, look, you don't play with the 666 name, right? You know what it is. You do have a conscience. The average person go and say 666, I'm 666. You just straight up, somebody gonna come and say, you going to hell. And if you really with the Christian religion, you gonna think you going straight to hell. You get what I'm saying? So we knew what the fuck it was. I knew what the fuck it was, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed making motherfuckers go crazy and get violent, catch charges and fight and shit. Get high, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? And all this, what they call crunk nowadays. Cause back then, there was just North Memphis and South Memphis, and what Triple Six did was made those two parts of the city come together. South Memphis ought to go to rap, North Memphis and rap, North Memphis ought to go, you know, cause it was all full of, you know what I'm saying, rappers from all over. So we really just brought the city together. Yes, I was deeply, I don't know about nobody else, but I can tell you, we know we was doing Triple Six. Hey, we exactly knew what it meant. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of didn't want to get into all that, no matter what I blame God for doing, you know. I hated God for what he did. But as it came to the Triple Six, I don't think I hate him that much. But I did it because it was money. And so, you know, you could, I even had in satanic books, the little warlock materials, you know, every warlock got to have a dagger, cut the little punch stars, whatever, little candles. I had all that. I was into all that. So, because something about the other Bible didn't work out. So I can tell you this, we did, folks with Triple Six, some folks were scared of it and left, put it like that. But me, I meant what I was saying. I definitely meant it. I said, so God, you're going to play like that, huh? Well, I got you. I'm going to make black folks comfortable with Triple Six. Like then black folks was like scared of it. You know, they wasn't too much on it. It's basically rock and roll. You know, they say Triple Six, they go, ah. Then they start listening to it and go to church. So they said, asked a lot of y'all worship the devil. They say they're Christians, but they pumping Triple Six, you know what I'm saying? So my job was out of anger to make black people get comfortable with their name. And I was very intelligent with it because I read a lot about it. You know, so I read a lot of books. I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Baptist, I'm not an atheist, I'm not a Muslim, I'm not a Catholic. I don't believe in a lot of this bullshit that they make up. It's all to maintain order. Now I can't talk against religion because without religion, which is what they use to maintain order, if that happened, it'd be a lot of chaos. You get what I'm saying? But I read a lot and I put all that into the music and the energy. You get what I'm saying? Because how you get Satan's name going, you get the kids to like it. Now today, see, I think we was one of the first people to break it like that. You would think Triple Six would have been a rock and roll band. So I think I was used by Satan, and I think he's I don't fear him. I don't even believe in that motherfucker anymore. But just to get black people, you know, once you get the black people, which are the riders of the Bible, they carry the Bible on their back like Jesus, Yahshua, whatever his name is, told the cross, you know what I'm saying, the crux or whatever. But anyway, we got people comfortable with his name, and we made sure we made songs violent. Very, very violent. We made songs very violent.
He says he was used by Satan to make black people comfortable with the devil, and that they would be listening to 666 Mafia, and then they would be in church the next day. I think it's funny because you have the clip of DJ Paul talking about, he's sitting here talking about, oh, it's not satanic, it's not demonic, like we never used to worship the devil, and you know, all this type of stuff. And then you have Koopsta flat out say, like, bro, you knew exactly what you was getting into. You have a conscience. You know exactly what we were doing. So for him to still deny it to this day, even though it's all so obvious, it didn't even take that clip for us to know that they were into some dark and demonic stuff. But just the fact to hear him say the level of detail and the intention that he put into the music that he was putting out to people and the reason why he did it, it is shocking to hear somebody go into that level of detail. It is shocking. Bone Thugs and Harmony. And I promise we're going to get to the interview that I had with Anthony Stanley, and you're not going to want to miss that because it was crazy. But Bone Thugs and Harmony, a lot of people, depending on who you talk to, A lot of people regard Bone Thugs and Harmony as the greatest rap group of all time. There's definitely a debate. There is definitely a debate. And once again, just like 666 Mafia, Bone Thugs and Harmony, they influenced a lot of the music that we see today. And I want you to listen to this clip from Busy Bone talking about their use of the Ouija board. And more specifically, I want you to listen to what he says the record label told them to do and the strategy that the record label put behind them in order to glorify the Ouija board and push it to their audience. Take a listen.
And it groomed us for later on. And then when the business came at us, it was just like, oof.
Right.
And money just hasn't stopped flowing since we got into the industry, and being homeless guys, at first it's overwhelming, but you got to be grounded. I thank God, Jesus and my Lord and Savior and
Right.
my resilience, my perseverance, the end of my fears and all of those different things, not worrying about when I die, got the afterlife there, and really, really putting it forth so I don't have to walk around the earth, shaking everywhere I'm going.
Right.
This, I'm gonna be all right. So I accredited, all of our sanity and our reasonable decisions to that, our spirituality and being grounded. And plus, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want to cut you off because you talk about spirituality, and I know you're a very spiritual dude. But I remember even times, especially on a couple of those albums, they was like, man, Bone Thugs, they dark. It almost feels demonic and all that stuff. And you guys had to go through that world. And then now to see that, you talking about, your sanctity and all of those things. Was that just a phase, or was that just misconstrued and people didn't understand it?
I mean, we played the Ouija board and we wrote a song about it. So we wrote a song about pretty much everything that we did.
Right.
And we stopped playing the Ouija board because we were sitting on a bunk bed and Lazy was asking who was going to die first in his family. And he was like, when he found out it was somebody that he didn't want, so he threw the Ouija board, and then they picked it back up, and then beds started falling down. So a whole bunch of stuff started happening.
So
where
some real
right, I ain't most of it.
Right.
We learned our lesson hands-on. And then when Eazy-E, he was like, y'all got to do that song, man. I like that Ouija song y'all did, man. And then he started talking backwards. And then after he passed, here comes the marketing and the promotional train, and here comes the company. You know what we need to do? Let's make some money off of it. So they put that mysterious back in the days when, CD covers and reading CD covers was the thing to do. That it manifested from there, and I think it was a whole lot of.
Did you feel like that may have affected some of the darkness in the darker times, or that was it all just marketing and gimmick, and it just happened to be a coincidence?
Yeah, I think it was marketing, and I think the only thing that took the gimmick stuff out of it was because we did play the Ouija board, so that kind of made it feel real enough to us to where we didn't, scream and shout, at the company like, what the f- are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And we never been bubblegum no goddamn way. So. Yeah, definitely. And, I just look at it as humanity in general really don't give a f- about the number 6 all like that. We just don't give a f- Am I only going to keep $665 in my pocket? In order to count a G, I'm going to have to pass that number.
You have to get past that third 6.
Yeah, so I think that mankind in general really, just brush that under their feet and stomp past it like they always do. You know what I'm saying? Some don't, but it,
but as we know,
I think it's so interesting that he just said that in terms of, number one, they're playing with the Ouija board, asking who's going to die first in their family. They don't like the answer. They threw the Ouija board off the bed. Then the bed starts collapsing and coming apart and stuff like that. The record label hears this story because they made a song about it, and they want to push it. They want to put fuel behind that song and push it out. And they wanted to profit off of that, regardless of what the spiritual impact was. They wanted to profit off of it. And he said something very interesting, that a lot of people just disregarded it. A lot of people just swept it under the rug because they don't think nothing of it. Most people are asleep. Most people don't have any discernment. Most people just think that the spiritual realm is non-existent and that there is no consequences. And I think it's very interesting that he's able to recognize that. And I also think it's very interesting that, the record label themselves, they're very much aware of the spiritual realm because they use it. They use it to generate revenue. They use it to stay in business. They use it to keep people hooked, and they do not care if it's for better or for worse. They're about the bread. Sacrificial. G. Craig Lewis talked about sacrifices that are being made in the industry. I want you to take a listen to it.
I want to ask you a couple more things. Just a couple more. That's it. Just a couple more. Okay. Okay, so there have been this silent understanding that many people that have reached the heights of hip hop had to do so through sacrifice, through giving up their body, some to a certain extent. Have you ever, has your research ever gone far enough to kind of verify that people are doing whatever they have to do to get to a certain level?
Yeah, that's where it came from. That came from EX Ministries. I'm not saying that arrogantly, but that's where it came from. Yeah, we were the first people to talk about that. That Illuminati, all of that. That's EX Ministries.
Okay, maybe I missed that part. So yeah, so you're saying that you believe that?
No.
Okay,
I know. Think of it this way. This will make a lot of sense. How many people can rap? A gazillion. How many people can make beats? Another gazillion. It's just, so what separates them? What puts you in the front of the line?
It can't just be talent.
No, it can't be talent. No, it has to be something else. And then the devil is like, the reason why Jesus, he was Jesus, so he wasn't going to take the devil's offer. But he didn't want the devil's offer because the devil wanted service unto him. If you take this, bow down to me, I'll give you this, right? So if you get the devil's fame, all earthly fame is from the devil, period. He's the prince and power of the air. He's the God of this world. He wouldn't have offered it to Jesus if he didn't have it to give. He had it to give. Jesus just turned it down.
Yeah.
All these kingdoms, I'll give you. This was his domain. That's why Jesus had to come. Jesus had to come to invade his domain, to create all of us as invaders. You know what I mean? So this is his domain. So, if you take his riches, you owe him something. So he has to get something, make you do something. There has to be a rite of passage.
Oh my gosh.
And then he has to use that so that you don't ever renege. Nobody reneges. Nobody gets out. Who got out? Who was world famous, world renowned, and got out?
Well, we thought Kanye West did.
No, I didn't think that.
Oh.
I did a whole video that he was faking. It's on my website.
Nobody gets out. That's what G. Craig Lewis said. Name somebody world renowned who took the deal and got out. Now, speaking of somebody world renowned, and speaking of Kanye West, or somebody who is associated with Kanye West, Beyonce comes to mind. Now, Satin talked about this exactly. Tasha K questions Satin about Beyonce, and specifically her involvement in the spiritual realm and her involvement with witchcraft. And I just want you to pay attention to the enthusiasm of which Satin speaks about Beyonce's participation in witchcraft.
So what all I can see is like the color. I remember Beyonce's video visual that she did.
Yellow. She did Oshun. Riches and beauty and love, all those things, yes.
And she put it in a video.
Yeah.
Was she supposed to film that?
No, that's fine. First of all, Oshun loves that.
Okay.
You have to have parties for her. You have to be beautiful in her day. Like how she had that dress and that, what is that thing on her head? It's like a tiara, but it was huge.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, she loves those things. She loves everything pretty and girly and riches. So Beyonce.
What is it? I hear so much about it. What is it though?
She's crowned Oshun, and so Oshun signifies everything that I just noted. So basically she has these parties and gives her offerings and things like that for her blessing.
Is that what the fruit is?
Yeah, that's what the fruit is.
So Beyonce's a witch.
Well, a lot of people are witches and don't know it.
I'm looking at the camera like, y'all hear it is? Like,
yeah, and I actually want to talk about that because there were so many people that made videos of our last interview, and they like twisted my words and said that I said that Beyonce was into devil worship or that she was a demon. And I don't even think I said the word demon. I don't remember you saying that. I did not at all. But they were like, oh, she said she's crowned Oshun. I'm like, Oshun is a beautiful deity. Like, where did you get Oshun being demonic? Or that Beyonce is demonic because of that? Like, what? Beyonce is amazing. Her energy is really high too. It's just that people don't understand orishas. They don't understand root work. They don't understand witchcraft. So what do? They make it devil worship and demonize it. You know what I mean? There's nothing devil worship about what Beyonce does. At least with the orishas, with what she's doing with when she dresses like that and you know she gives offerings and things like that. That is beautiful, actually. Yeah.
So why does she? Because the thing is, like, I guess when she goes to do offerings, she's doing offerings. Is it a love offering or is it a conjuring offering? Like, does she do her own? So she's a priestess like you is what you're saying?
She could be. I don't know if she's initiated. But I'm saying she's been crowned. You could be crowned and not be initiated as far as a priestess. You could be crowned. That tells you you're in like their coven or their house or whatever. But that doesn't mean that you're a priestess. Like you can't crown someone else. You know what I mean? Like there's levels to it. So you're in it now. You're initiated in them, but you are not in the spiritual work aspect.
Let me ask you this. I always want to know.
Oshun. What is Oshun? So Satin says that Beyonce is crowned Oshun, right? Now, this is the overview by Google. It says Oshun is a prominent Yoruba deity associated with sweet water, love, beauty, fertility, wealth, and sensuality. She is considered a powerful and influential figure in the Yoruba pantheon. Oshun is also known as the protector of the poor and the mother of orphans, fulfilling their needs and bringing prosperity and healing. And apparently this is what Beyonce is crowned with, according to the witch. This stuff is extremely dark. And as I was going through all of these clips, because like I said, this all started with the Kevin Gates clip. But as I'm going through all of these clips, I remembered something. I remembered an interview that I shot. Now, this was about a year ago. I shot an interview with an individual who came from the music industry, specifically the rap industry. And he had an offer on the table to sign a life-changing record deal. But it came with a very heavy cost. This interview I'm talking about is the one with Anthony Stanley. Now, I'm going to play this interview, not the entire interview, but I'm going to play the part that a lot of y'all just simply are not going to believe. And I want you to pay very close attention because he talks about his experience of being offered a record contract and what the label wanted him to sacrifice because they asked him to sacrifice something. And then he talks about an encounter that he has with Jesus. And I want you to pay very close attention because after he explains that encounter, I ask a question. I say to him, do people ever think that you are not telling the truth about the encounter that you had? And I want you to pay very close attention to what he says after that, because I promise you, it's going to change your perspective. Probably forever.
Those of you are new may have never heard my testimony. I grew up in a small town. I would say kind of small, but medium too at the same time. It's 3.5 hours away from Chicago. So most time when I say I'm from Illinois, most people automatically think Chicago, but I'm from Decatur, Illinois. So again, that's 3.5 hours away. I grew up there with just my mom and dad was married when I was about 2 years old, and then about a year and a half later, they got a divorce. And so I really was raised with a single mother, but my mother has instilled prayer in me. She always pray over me. She will always just keep me in church or just around, just in the presence of God, just through prayer and worship and things of that nature. And just growing up in my household, even with prayer and all of that, I was exposed to a lot of things, perversion, sexual perversion, to alcoholism, A lot of my family was struggling out with drugs, so I would see that all the time as well. People that was in gangs and all of that. And my mom did everything she can, just through her praying alone, to keep me out of that, and gave me opportunities through sports and stuff like that as well. But my biggest thing that I got involved in was in music because when my mom and dad got a divorce, it hurt me, and I needed to find a replacement for my dad because when they got a divorce, we wasn't as close anymore. We didn't really talk, and even to this day, we don't have a really close relationship. But I love him like never before. I have no issues with him, and so I developed a love for music. It became a replacement, became something that I love to do because it was allowing me to just get my emotions out and just share a lot of things that was on my heart. So I got involved in rap music, and then I used to write R&B music as well because I used to sing at church as when I was about 7. I started singing in the choir. Then as I got older, I started doing praise and worship, but yet I still had this love for rap music, and I just had a desire to want to be famous and be able to get my mom, out of the situation that we were in. We didn't grow up with a lot of money and stuff, so I wanted to do that for her because she was just a great mother. And so, as I started to really hone my skills, I started getting opportunities to perform with various R&B and rap artists. I will open up for them, and I just was always in the studio doing a lot of music with different people, writing a lot of music, and it was just a great time. And then I had an opportunity at one point to pretty much display my music before a record company, and the record company really loved my music, and they were going to give me a record deal. And I decided not to take it because they told me that if I was going to get this record deal, that I would have to change everything about me. I needed to change my lyrics because I never really cursed in my records. I never did any of that. I felt like if I was going to be lyrical, I needed to be able to showcase those lyrics without adding a lot of profanity to it. So they told me I needed to change my image and be gangster. So that's what they told me. They said, "You're not gangster enough."
That's what they told you?
Inside you are. That's what they told me. They say,
In
"You're
the
not
meeting,
gangster
that's what they told you?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yep.
crazy. So
Yep.
when you were growing up, who would you say were some of your influences from a musical standpoint when you were coming up that kind of led you to have that interest in music?
From a musical standpoint, I would say I had a lot of cousins that made music. So my family was a big influence on me. They all rapped, a lot of them sing. So they were my biggest influences. But I would say, as far as artist wise, I would say Jay-Z and Nas was like my two biggest people that I would listen to like all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you start to get some momentum and you're opening up for different people. Can you talk about kind of who you were open up like for at all?
Yeah, I'll mention them. I never got a chance to mention any of that. I didn't never felt led, but I feel led today. So well, let's do it. So yeah, I was able to open up for Tank. He did a couple R&B things, and they allowed some rappers to get on. So I opened up for Tank in a few of his shows. I also opened up for the New Boys when they were hot at the time, because again, this was years ago. I opened up for them. I opened up for Waka Flocka. I opened up for several artists, Bobby Valentino, Dollar. Before he was killed, we actually was in Vegas together and did a show, and we kind of hung out and stuff. And then it was like a month or so later, he had got shot in the head. It was crazy, but yep, it was, it was sad, but I opened up for him. It was quite a few artists. It was a long time ago, so I can't really think of a lot, but those were like the main ones that I opened up for, and I had opportunities to talk to. And then I had a lot of connections with professional like boxers and stuff like that, because in relation to my family.
Yeah. Where were you at from a faith standpoint? Did you have a relationship with God? I know you said that your mom was a prayer warrior and that she always covered you in prayer, but where were you personally during this time period?
So for me, I honestly did not I would say I did not have a real authentic relationship with Christ. I only knew Christ based off, again, my mom and then the church I was going to, my pastor, and just being in the community of church.
Yeah.
So I really didn't know Jesus. I didn't know anything. I just used to feel something, emotional, the Holy Spirit. I would feel something. I would cry. I will just have little senses and stuff like that. But I really did not understand what I was in and what I was involved in.
Yeah.
And my real authentic relationship did not come until I transitioned out and went to college. I went to the Illinois Institute of Art in Schaumburg, Illinois. And that's when I had my encounter with Jesus that changed my life forever.
Wow. So, and this happens after you have that meeting with the record label and everything, I'm assuming. So,
yep.
Man, you were in it for real. Like you were around that's all the names you're mentioning. Those are some people who are in the industry, signed artists. And you were right there with those individuals. Did you ever have any like inclination or any, cause I know you said, which is interesting. You said that you didn't really curse in your music too much. You kind of wanted to let the lyrics speak for themselves. Did you have any inclination or any pull aside from the industry forces that were kind of tugging at you to kind of switch up your style in order to kind of break through more mainstream, if that makes sense?
Yeah, when I was around when like Soulja Boy was really hot.
Yeah.
And so I remember working with the artist. He went by the name of Young Gov, and me and him connected because he would open up for various artists and different things. And I went with him a lot of times because we did a song together.
Yeah.
And when I was speaking with him, he used to do the party, the drinking, all that crazy kind of music. Like he would do that hype kind of music, and he would tell me like, "Man, this is the music that's hot right now.
Yeah.
And if you don't get onto that, brother, like you're not gonna get on. So if you change up your style, if you change this up." And start saying, these type of things, or, start talking about being gone. Like we did a song called Going, Going, Gone, and I'll never forget it because it was about, being in the club and having pills and having alcohol. And mind you, this is all the stuff that I never did.
Yeah.
So I never drank alcohol and I never did any kind of drugs.
Yeah.
So that's been a question with my testimony. Like, man, were you on drugs when you had your encounter? No, I've never, and I will say it again, I've never done drugs or never drank alcohol because I decided that even though I was in this game and I did music and I traveled, I did stuff, my major issue was with women. But I never did any of that, the alcohol and stuff, because my family, I seen it too much and I seen where it could lead. I had many deaths of overdoses, and when people got off, their body deteriorated and passed away. I never wanted to be involved in that. So I stayed away from it, but they wanted me to make it in the music and say this and say that. And I did a song and I was talking about it, but I didn't feel right. So I just did one song with him, and I went with him a few times to a couple of shows and opened up for some people with him and performed, and then I just stopped.
Yeah. Do you think that happens though? And I want to get back to what you were saying in terms of the record label conversation, but do you think that happens in the industry where people, they start talking about things that they're not involved in, whether it be like drugs and alcohol or, violence or whatever, but they know it sells. And so essentially they're selling out, quote unquote, in order to become successful, but they're not actually living that lifestyle. Do you think that's more prominent than what we would think it is? Because I know it happens to a certain extent, but do you think there's more people in the industry than we know that are actually kind of going down that path because it's profitable?
Yes, and you can see it. Like those, you don't even have to have spiritual vision to notice a lot of even some of the rappers and people we see today. You know what I mean? you can find out that a lot of it, a lot of things that they're doing as far as the music that they're making, the viral videos that's being made, and all these things that's happening is because it's what's hot and what people are going after. The more controversy you create, even if it's negative influence, is still, in a sense, in the industry, positive influence, because people go after negativity, they go after sex, they go after drugs, they go after violence. That's been forever in Hollywood, is forever in the music business. And when hip hop came on the scene, that was something that gravitated to the angry people that's in the hood that didn't have much, that was struggling. They were angry. And so hip hop came from that. And no one wants to really be honest and talk about where it stemmed from. But that's exactly where it came from, out of anger, out of, man, we left in the slums, and you're not giving us enough, and we can't make it, and you're discriminating against us. And that's where it's all about. So whatever we have to do to get out of it, we're willing to do it. And I didn't want it that bad.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think now it's kind of come to a point where we have a lot of kids who don't know struggle. That's never been their reality, never been their lifestyle, but it's been glamorized to a point to where they think it's cool. And I see it as it's a product, and it's supply and demand, and the music industry knows that. And if it sells, they're going to try to produce more of that content. So can you take us back to what you were saying in terms of the record label conversation? So you get a chance to have that meeting, which I'm sure you were probably, super excited to have that opportunity. I can only imagine. And then can you lead us into that conversation, exactly what happened during that meeting with that label?
Yeah. So we were, we were seated at the table, and it was crazy. So we were seated at the table. First thing they asked me, like, okay, let's listen to some of your music together. So they started listening to some of my music, and then they asked me to freestyle. And so I just, began to freestyle and did a verse or whatever. So after I freestyled, the conversation went as such. They was like, we really love your music. Your music is awesome. We can see ourselves, really pushing you as an artist. We're going to set you up for artist development, because back then artist development was huge, because social media is not where it's at, and there wasn't a big independent platform at the time. So record labels and companies put a lot of money in developing artists. So they said, we're going to put you in artist development, but one of the things we're going to have to change about you is that you're going to have to be more gangster in your music, because right now the kind of music you make is good, but it's not going to sell with the audience that we're in, because the record label that I don't want to name it. I'll be honest, I don't want to name it. Because it's a big controversy with this label if I name it already, and I always seen them on the headline, so I'm just not going to name it. But where the kind of record label it was that, what I mean, and that's what they promoted, that's what they do, gangster hip hop, hardcore stuff. So to come in with a guy like me, who just didn't want to rap about none of that kind of stuff, but had lyrics and I could write. If I had so many songs, like there was so many songs. I at one point I wanted to just take my songs and just be a ghostwriter and just give it to a lot of people. That's what I really wanted to do. Because I never really wanted to be like the artist and be known and famous and stuff like that. I just really wanted the money for my mom. So it really, none of the other stuff mattered. So the kind of music that I made, I felt like, man, these was hit records. If they ever got an opportunity to be like taken and blasted out, like they would be hit records. And I think that they understood that, but in their mind, they felt they didn't trust the fact that it wasn't gangster and hood enough. So they said, no, we will sign you, but you have to change who you are. And we're going to have to develop you into that kind of, mindset. And I told them, I can't do that. I got to be me. And if you're not going to sign me as me, then I can't do it. And I walked away from it. And I went home, I cried about it. I told my mom about it and told, some people around me and a lot of my family and people know that what I've experienced and why I didn't do certain things. But I just knew even then at the time, like, I didn't know it was God, but I felt something deep within that said, I have something greater, for you.
Yeah. Man, I'm just thinking, because you were saying that this is at a standpoint in your life where your faith wasn't really the strongest. I'm just thinking, if I was in that situation, in a similar state from a faith standpoint, and I'm seeing my dreams at that time starting to become reality, it would have been very hard for me to say no. And that's a crazy offer, though, what they said in terms to switch your whole style. But knowing where I was and like just how vulnerable I used to be back in the day, because there was one point in time where I was trying to, get into the industry and kind of act a little bit. It never really took off or nothing like that. But had I been in a similar situation, and the level of vulnerability and just the naiveness of just thinking that everyone has like a genuine intention, I probably would have went into that space and probably would have, tried to make a switch just to get my foot into the door. Was there any part of you that kind of felt that same way, or you knew in your spirit that something was off with it?
Something was off.
Yeah.
Something was off with it. I couldn't do it. Like, because I've always been, if everyone is going left, I'm going right.
Yeah.
If everyone is going right, I'm going left. Like, if you look at my Instagrams, look at who I am today in ministry and stuff, I do things different than everyone else because I just never wanted to be a copycat.
Yeah.
So if I have to go into the industry sounding like everybody else, what's the purpose of, how can we call it being creative if I'm sounding like everybody else?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that. Now, I will tell you though, me and my cousin, who's a pastor now, we were talking the other day, and I told him, I was real. I said, if I grew up in this kind of generation where social media was huge and the stuff that we have now, I would still be rapping today. Like, I know that I would have never probably gave my life to Christ because I would have had a greater platform and opportunity to showcase my creativity the way I felt like I could have, and it would have took off. I know. And I said, that's why God got me early on. Because if I would have continued on into this right now, it'd have been over with. I'm be honest. I wouldn't even be preaching. I wouldn't be talking about Christ at all, man. I'd be somewhere doing music and probably then sold my soul or something.
Yeah. Do you follow any of like the Christian hip hop today?
Actually, I do not. I actually I don't. I used to, when I was transitioned out of it and I just like stopped. A cousin of mine, the same pastor cousin I was telling you about, he actually was a Christian rapper.
Yeah.
And me and him actually moved in together, became roommates, and we made music together. So I started writing, Christian rap music. And man, we had some good songs too. But I just, rapping to me just wasn't the same because I grew to love it. I grew to love it from a secular perspective. And when I got into trying to do it just from a Christ perspective, it didn't feel the same. And I know some people like, man, you're doing it for Christ. You're glorifying him. I understand that. But for me, I don't feel the same when I'm rapping as I do when I'm worshiping him through music, through song, through singing.
Yeah.
So it's a different connection that I have with the Lord, with my voice and singing aspect versus rapping. So that's why I felt like I never really been interested in the Christian rap.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question, but I don't want to take you too off track, so I'll save it. But what happens after? So you have the meeting, you turn it down. Where are you at? What's your headspace like at that time? Are you optimistic that something else is going to happen, or kind of where are you at in your life at this moment?
I actually got discouraged. I got discouraged, and I took about a year and a half off from making music. I was really upset because I felt like, man, I had a chance, but they trying to change me and I can't do that. So I was just really mad and just kicking myself at the end. I'm like, man, here you go again, try to be the stand-up guy. You could have had your dreams or whatever. And I was and I knew it was the enemy just making me feel a certain way now that I look back on it.
Yeah.
But I started to just hone my skills some more and just kept writing and kept working. And as I kept writing and working, I felt like I started getting better and writing better songs and stuff. And I told myself, you know, I'm not going to pitch to any more labels anymore. I'm just going to start building my MySpace because at the time, MySpace was huge. Uh, so I started building my MySpace and I started making CDs and I was giving them out in school and everywhere, college. I was giving them out. I was selling them. And people knew about me, you know, in my city and different places. And it was looking really good. And then you know, once I really like got in, like I said, I got into college and started doing the engineering work and stuff like that, learning a little bit more about it. When I got there, I was just too many women, you know, back to back, and I got depressed. And I just asked the Lord to, you know, show Himself to me, and I had an encounter with Him, and that's where everything just started changing.
Yeah. So you said that was, you never really messed with drugs and alcohol, but one of the things that was kind of a thorn for you was it, would you describe it from like a lust standpoint?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was lust. It stemmed from age 11, being exposed to pornography. And an uncle actually exposed me to it one day. He popped it into the VCR and I seen it and I was hooked from that day. So it started from that. And then, you know, watching and seeing and talking to, you know, a lot of my friends and guys that was in music and talked about how many girls and women and stuff they were messing with.
Yeah.
And then it's just a curiosity that grew into a lust that became something I thought I would never break out of.
Yeah. So what was the moment like when you kind of realized that that was like a hindrance for you?
And when you're in lust, one of the things that I tell people all the time that I noticed when I was in it, that the more I did it, the more or less satisfied I became. And it started to really grow to where I just would, it started to grow to where it was like every other night I would have a different woman. And when I reached like the threshold of I got tired of it, I went into, and this kind of just goes directly into it because this is how I got out of it. I went into my prayer closet. I call it a prayer closet because it was huge. I went in there, and that's the day that I said, Lord, I don't want to be like this anymore because it's leaving me empty. I'm never satisfied. I'm always down, and yet I'm still lonely. All these women, but yet I'm still lonely. I still feel like I'm just not accomplishing anything with my life. I just don't feel good. I feel like depleted. I feel like I have no life in me. I'm just going with no spirit. And I said, Lord, I need your help. I need to be delivered right now. And you're going to have to show yourself to me. I don't want to know the God that I met, you know, at church, or the little feelings that I felt, or when I cried, or when you fall out and you get back up, you're still the same. I said, no, I don't want any of that to happen right here in this closet. I need you to show yourself. And so if you saw my testimony, you know, I said I literally prayed from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. That night. And I sought the Lord. I started praying. It started going to saying, you know, God, show yourself and all of that too. Lord, forgive me. I'm a sinner. I am not right. Father, cleanse me. I want to get to know you and who you are. Show me who I am in you. And like, I just broke and just stayed in there. And the thing was, like, it didn't even feel like I was in there that long. Because I was just in a broken place. And the Bible tells us to come to the Lord with a broken spirit and a contrite heart. And He won't turn Himself from you. When you come broken like that, you're in the right position for Him to do something supernatural. And so at the time, nothing happened in that closet, though. Everything happened the moment I got out of the closet, and the thought came to my mind and said, well, maybe God's not real, you know, because you did all this crying, you was praying, and you feel a little bit better because you released a lot of things to Him, but He still didn't show up like you said. So maybe it's not real. Maybe it's just a lot of emotional things. And I was like, nah, I rejected that thought. And the moment I rejected it, like a mighty rushing wind, here comes His power. Here comes His presence. The Holy Spirit fills the room, like the book of Acts, chapter 2. I fall face first to the ground, and I'm filled with the Holy Spirit for the first time in my life, speaking in the heavenly language. And I look up, and here's a cloud hovering over me. And He's speaking out of this cloud, telling me, Anthony, I called you to be a prophet to the nations. I'm going to use you in a great way. He said, you're going to master the prophetic. It's going to be something that operate in with integrity. Like, it was all of these things that he was speaking over me about my life and where I was going to go. He told me to go back home. He was going to raise me up to be a worship leader. Like, it was so many things that was happening all at once. And my spirit was just being filled with all of his words and things that he was going to do for me in my future. And I got up and I was crying, man. I was crying. I called my mom and let her know what happened. And she was just praying for me at church. So I had that encounter from her just praying for me, at church. And man, that day, I felt like he just took his hand and put it on me and never took it off.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like you're praying that whole time, and then you get out, and then the devil is trying to get you to basically abandon that faith and that hope and that you were just, establishing and praying up, and to get you to kind of walk away from it. And then you had that opportunity and that temptation to give into those thoughts and give into that slander that the devil was, putting against God. But you reject that, and then you have that incredible encounter. You never had anything like that before in the past?
Never had anything like that.
Yeah.
I was at churches and stuff and seen, people fall out.
Yeah.
But I never had the tangible presence. Like, these are things that, the old saints that used to be at the altar and for real pray. They used to do them shut-ins. That's the stuff that they saw and experienced that this generation don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And so when I was crying out to him, and that's what was getting his attention. And I didn't really know that that's what was strumming on the heartstrings of God. And my hunger started to develop more and more just for him alone. I didn't want power. I didn't want anointing. I didn't want nothing else but to be changed and to know him. Yeah. And when he came in there, and I saw that with my own eyes, and again, I said it before, but I had a dog, and I knew it was real because that dog saw it too. Because she was running in circles and barking, looking at it too. And man, I just never seen anything like it. A cloud.
Yeah. In your bedroom.
It was actually in my living room, right in my living room, because I had a studio apartment. Yeah. So it was, my bedroom was all the way to the back, and then there was my kitchen area, and then the living room part, and it was right it was right by my TV. I had the small little flat screen TV, and it was it appeared right there. And I was on the ground. I could not move. I'm face first on the ground. And all I could do is like turn my head a little bit like this and look up, and I'm just bawling, and I'm looking, and there's this cloud. And as this cloud is talking to me, I'm trying to talk to try to figure out what's going on. Yeah. And it's another language, like nothing I ever encountered or experienced ever in my life. Yeah. Ever.
But you understood what it was in that moment.
I understood exactly what it was in that moment. I knew that I just encountered Jesus, because when I got on the phone with my mom, that's exactly what I told her. I said, I encountered Jesus. Yeah. I know who this is. The same God I was in the room and I was in that prayer closet praying to showed himself to me. And that right there, no one could ever tell me that he's not real. From that mark, no matter all the things I've been through in my life, my faith has not shifted. I've seen so much. I've lost so much. I've experienced so much, but my faith has not changed. No one can tell me he's not real and that he does not, he or say he don't care about us. I've been praying all this time. He never showed himself to me. Well, I always tell people there's two reasons why the Lord may not show up. And I had to learn this, when I did what I did, I had to go back and research and figure out, what did I do to get him to respond the way he did? Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, my motive changed. It wasn't now to tempt him and say, oh, well, if you were real, God, show yourself, and cussing at him and stuff like some people do. No, none of that happened. I said that at first, and then it started changing. I started saying, Lord, forgive me. I need to be right. Lord, cleanse me. I want to know who you are. I don't want to experience anything else like I experienced before. I want to experience something new. And my hunger, I got so hungry that I was willing to do something I'd never done before. And then number two, I no longer just was seeking after a sign. because the Bible tells us, Jesus said that there was the Pharisees. They kept trying to get Jesus to perform miracles in front of them.
Yeah.
And they wanted the miracles, but Jesus said, this generation is perverse.
Yeah.
You're just looking for a sign, and I'm not going to give you a sign. It said he left them. He got on a boat and just started going and gone. Because he won't show himself when you, again, all this tempting and just like trying to push your weight on God to make him do something. He don't respond like that. It's when you become broken and you reach a place where you're saying, I'm open for you and you alone. I don't want anything else in this world but you.
Yeah.
That's when he starts responding in ways. And then, you know, I was open for something supernatural. I wanted him to reveal himself in a profound way that could mark me forever.
Yeah.
And when he did it, I was so shocked. So like, he really did this for me, you know, like, am I really that special? You know what I mean? Because I am a messed up man, you know, like I try to do things right, but I was just so messed up in my heart. You know, I was angry. I had rejection. I had all of these things in me. For him to show up like that, you know, I knew that Christ loved me.
Yeah. I mean, everybody is messed up though. Even like,
you
look at Paul, the experience that he had killing Christians, persecuting Christians, and then to have that experience and then to literally write, what is it, like 24 or 25% of the New Testament, like just insane. But do you have, because I'm thinking, because I just know how social media works. Do you have people who ever doubt kind of your experience in terms of like what you just outlined?
I really am grateful. I knew that was the Lord that told you to say that to me, because I get doubters all the time because they have never encountered it. It's hard for some people to believe. I had so many people tell me that encounter you had, that you said you had, that's from the devil. God, that's not God. I'm like, how can you tell a person what they encounter is of the devil when my whole life from that day, I made some mistakes, but I was so marked to the point where I just kept on pressing to know him and to fulfill the purpose and to preach the gospel of Jesus. I have never stopped preaching the gospel of Jesus from that day that I had that encounter. And so the devil wouldn't allow me to, if I had an encounter with the devil, do you think he would want me to talk about Christ? He would want me to stay doing rap music. He would like he was trying to do. Like after I had that encounter, the devil tried to come in and snatch my encounter and that faith that I just got placed in me. He wanted to snatch it. And he was saying, oh, well, you can still do music, because he won't get mad if you change it up 100% and it becomes like super positive now. Like all you have to do is just do positive. You don't have to change nothing, but just be more positive. And from that encounter, I decided, okay, well, I called my guy that was there with me in Chicago. His name was EB, and he was my producer. And we were about to work on this EP. And I said, hey man, let's work on this album. And he was like, well, I'm getting ready to go back to St. Louis. So let's do this, you know, let's do it together. So let's go to St. Louis. So I pack up everything. We go to St. Louis. Now just hear me out here. If this was of the devil, none of this would have happened to me. Something great would have happened with music aspect. If this was of the devil. But I said, so I went with him and we get into St. Louis. The same day we get into St. Louis, we go to the studio. I make a song with him, like 2 or 3 songs with him. And then there was one other song we were working on. We took a break. We left from there and we went to go and get some food. When we left from the studio and went after getting some food, we stopped at a red light. And at this red light, his car just stops. And in the backseat of his car, he had a battery that was in the backseat. And smoke and stuff just started coming up from the backseat. And I still had all my stuff. So even when I was in the studio, all my clothes, my jewelry, my money, I even had my Bible with me. I had everything with me.
Yeah.
It was in the car. But they didn't have nothing with them. I had everything with me.
Yeah.
I'm the one who had the encounter. I'm the one who God spoke to. I'm the one that God said who he was going to use and all of this stuff. So all of that is in there. And I'm the last person to get out. And as soon as my feet hit the ground, fire shoots up from the car. I lose everything. And I'm crying. And here's that voice again. I told you to go back home.
Jeez.
And I need you to, I want you to go back home. I'm raising you up to be a worship leader. I called you to prophet. I've called you to be a prophet, to the nations. And all of these rehearsed words. Here it comes. And I'm just bawling. I'm just crying away. And I call my mom. She come and get me. But my whole life lined up to what he wanted, because when my mom came and got me, we get back home. It was a Sunday.
Yeah.
I go to church and the pastor's preaching my whole life. You can't, the devil is not going to orchestrate me just drawing closer to God.
Yeah.
He's not going to orchestrate. There's no way that he will orchestrate those events.
Yeah.
There's no way, because he want to keep me bound. He didn't want to get me free.
Yeah.
So I get there and the pastor's preaching my whole life. And I'm crying in there too. And I'm like, God, you're speaking to me. This is what you want. And my pastor comes up to me and says, after he actually asked me to come up and sing, I sing, we're all worshiping and going after God. At the end of the service, here he come to say the words that God told me. Anthony, the Lord spoke to me and told me to make you the worship leader.
Wow.
I was never the worship leader at the church. Never was identified as a worship leader. I led songs in the choir, but I wasn't a worship leader. That came from God first.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a worship leader was, because I never led worship. I never listened to gospel music prior to that.
Jeez.
I'm be honest. I had a tough time when I got into that role.
Yeah.
They would say, "Yeah, let's sing this song, this Israel song, this song." I did not know the words. I didn't know nothing. I never listened to gospel music.
Yeah.
And so, when I got into there, my whole sound, everything that I used to like before, I didn't like anymore. Music just like it shifted.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh God, now I understand why worship is this way, or why gospel music this way, or then he started giving me my own music, my own sound.
Yeah.
And it just started growing from there. But how can the devil orchestrate that?
Yeah.
And that's where I just don't understand why people come on and they say that to cause division, to make it seem like, oh, he had an encounter with the devil. Oh, he was on drugs.
Yeah.
I've never done drugs a day in my life. I have no reason to make that up, because now to this day, I've been marking. I'm still preaching about Christ.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Not going back.
I think sometimes people, they take their unbelief and they put it on somebody else's testimony, because they can't comprehend that could happen in their life. So then they automatically assume that what you're saying is false and that it never happened. Because I always say testimonies it's real life. Like, it's not always going to be clean cut. It's not always going to be straight and narrow path. It's real life, and life gets messy. But regardless of the testimony, I think the thing that we have to really consider is exactly what you said. What is the impact, and what is that person preaching after that encounter? What does the fruit look like after? Where are they going after? Who are they pointing towards after that encounter? And if it's Jesus and if it's genuine, then how could you question somebody's testimony, And the fact that you said your pastor put you in that position, a position that you probably weren't qualified to be in, but God had set you apart and had that already for you in his plans. To use that talent that you had, that musical ability, that talent that you had for his kingdom, for his good, to give him glory. Which, like you said, you probably could have been in the industry, no doubt, in whatever capacity that was, whether you were going to be rapping or ghostwriting behind the scenes, A&R, whatever capacity that was. I'm sure you could have been in the industry had you, wanted to do that, but God had other plans for you, and God, drew the line in the sand and said, nah, you're going to go this way. Do you ever think, because I see a lot of artists, they say they're Christians, they wear the cross, they post the Bible verse, like a lot of mainstream artists. But it confuses me, and people disagree with me sometimes because they say I'm kind of like fruit watching and whatnot. But it confuses me as to how come they don't just fully submit their talent to the Lord, as opposed to continuing to dabbling in this secular music. What do you kind of think about that? Why do you think people, they say one thing, but then they're still using their talent to glorify sin as opposed to just fully glorifying, God?
It's I'm gonna try to be okay. It's a spirit, and I say it's a spirit. Some people come on maybe disagree, but it's a spirit. Number one, the children of Israel had this same spirit. They were freed from slavery in Egypt, made to go into the wilderness. The Lord is supernaturally doing everything for them. He's providing food. He's providing clothes where they don't even have to get any clothes or make them. They stuff never was wearing out. Like, water is coming out of rocks and all kind of supernatural stuff God is doing for these people in a hard place.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Moses was the only one that was like really speaking to God, and God was speaking to him, and he will just have these moments and stuff, but the people wasn't. So this is where this generation is at. And even in the secular arena, they want God, but they want God to identify with their flesh. So that's why they built the golden calf, because this golden calf is a God, but it can identify with where I'm at. And so when they built that calf, they was having orgies. The Bible talks about it. They was doing all kind of fleshly things. And so the secular world today, and even most Christians, that's why they will fight and will take up for secular artists who's using Christ from a way of promotion.
Yeah.
Because just think, they always do that. It's just never fails. Like, they will talk about Jesus and then do something crazy.
Yeah.
Just to lead the people, because they know that if the church got their back, man, that money is just gonna roll in. And that's just what it's about. They may never say it, but in the end, it's gonna come out. Because their fruit is gonna show it. You know what I mean? I can name some names right now. Like, now you say Jesus is king and he's all of this, but now I'm God. Come on, man. Now Jesus he ain't do nothing for you. Come on, really? So if we, as the people of God, if we say, well, we're of God and we're of Christ, but yet we are still connected to that, then that means we want Christ to identify with this flesh, and that we want a hybrid God, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
We have to be cut and separated from the world. And that's why when I gave it up, I gave it up. Like, I was telling my producer friend that I was telling you about, EB, I had messaged him because I was looking for some stuff, some old footage and stuff, because I'm trying to work on like some kind of documentary thing so that people can really see that I really was doing it. So I was trying to find some old files and different things. And he was like, man, I can't find any of this stuff. Like, I did a couple videos and stuff. We can't find it. And I said, I'm going to do my final rap CD and call it Lost Files, because I can't find nothing. But it's because I really, real talk, when I gave my life to Christ and I fully just surrendered, I gave that all up to where I start throwing away everything. I threw away CDs. I threw away everything I had. Stuff, flash drives that had secular stuff, I threw it all away. I didn't want it anymore, because I was a brand new person with a brand new appetite for Christ. And that's who I wanted. I didn't want this world anymore. I didn't want that anymore. So that right there is the fruit of when you know you really have them.
Yeah.
Because like Jesus said, my food is to do the will of my Father.
Yeah.
If that's not our appetite today, then what are we doing? And I never planned to even get on the 2 platforms I was on to share my testimony. Because again, I threw all this stuff away. So if I planned to do it, I would have been sending everybody, take this. This is what I used to be. And this is pictures of this. And this is, I don't have it. I have some of them that I can describe, but I threw everything away because
Yeah.
I'm brand new.
Yeah.
I don't even identify with the old rap name. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I don't, when people like, what's your rap name? I'm not telling you, like,
Yeah.
because I don't identify with that anymore.
Yeah.
Why would I tell you what I used to be?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yes, I came out of it, but why would you have to search for that?
Yeah.
He's not alive anymore. God
Exactly.
killed that person. He done raised up Anthony, a man of God, a man who preached the gospel of Jesus. And that's where I'm at. And I feel like if we're really going to do this thing, let's do it 100%.
Exactly.
But they still want a part of the world. So
Exactly.
yeah, they want a God that they can touch in the flesh. That's the main
Exactly.
thing.
That's what I was thinking. I don't know if you know who Black China is, but you know, she had this whole announcement and baptism and giving her life to Christ. But then in interviews, she's like, you know, I'm not going to give up the Black China name because that's the brand. And if I need to switch to be Black China to essentially, you know, do a deal, make a bag, then I'm going to do that. So I'm not going to give that up. But to me, I'm like, exactly what you said. That's your old identity. That's your sinful identity. And you literally got that name from being a well-known stripper. So how come you don't want to fully embrace the identity that God has for you? It's because whether you know it or not, you're still have some sort of allegiance to the world and not fully sold out for God. So I think it's interesting that you said that. You know, I want to ask you this question because you have a perspective, because you actually lived it. So you lived it from an industry standpoint, and you've seen things that I'm sure like most people haven't seen from an industry standpoint, but then also, you know, the spiritual side of it in the biblical standpoint. Do you think Christians can listen to secular music?
Christians cannot listen to secular music, and I will say it confidently and boldly. I am convinced that spirits are connected and tied to melodies. The Lord spoke to me when I was doing I did a show, and I did a show with a rapper, and I shared this before. This is what, you know, everybody was going crazy over, but I really did see spirits come out of this rapper's mouth. And the thing that stuck out to me was when I went, you know, when they start shooting in the club, I run out and I'm just like crying. I'm like, what is this? Because the Lord had, you know, I know it's the Lord, but back then when I heard a voice that said, go into the back and just watch, the Lord wanted me to see something. So when I saw these spirits going in and people getting angry, and these spirits, these melodies, these demons are influencing people, making them angry, girls getting more seductive and provocative and all these crazy things happening, then somebody decides they're going to just start shooting. When I go out there, the Lord spoke something very profound. And that's where I knew I can't continue to listen to it nor do it. He said that the same spirits that torment you when you are making your music is the same spirits that will torment others when you release your music.
Wow.
So your music going out to other people, whatever you're dealing with, you're releasing it. Just so being a worship leader and operating in the prophetic and the way that I do and deal with atmospheres, like I remember there was a keyboard player that played for me one time when I led worship, and I showed him the chords, and he played some chords, and it was the same chords I told him to play, but I heard something different. I can't even describe it, but he was playing everything I was telling him, but I heard something different. And when I heard something different, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, he was at the club last night and he was playing secular. So it's in his music. It's in his sound. He can play the right chords, but it's the spirit behind it. And so that's why we as Christians, we cannot listen to it because it affects our worship to God. Because worship is not just music. Worship is our lifestyle. So if we taint us by allowing those things to come in and influence us, it influences us into sin. It binds us in our thinking. It promotes oppression, because the devil comes to oppress. The Bible says he's still kill and destroy. So if he's the creator of that music, which he is, he's where the origin comes from secular music is demonic in its nature. You can't take something demonic and then say, yeah, this is for God. No, it has to originate from God. The reason why we can be saved and transformed when we're doing all this messed up stuff is because we came from God originally. God don't take something to curse it and say we're gonna make it blessed. No, when we talk about ourselves, he does it. But when it comes to witchcraft, when it comes to, you know, anything that had an origin from a demonic origin, it cannot be transformed to holy.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't understand that sometimes. Yeah. And so Christians will say, well, I'll listen to it. Well, you're going to mess and taint up your spiritual sacrifice that you're supposed to be when you listen to that secular music.
Yeah, that's a good point you made too. Because I remember, I think I was in like elementary school and I was listening to a lot of 50 Cent when he first put out the first album. I forget what it's called. And then
You'll Get Rich and Die Trying?
I think it was that one. That was probably the first one when it came out. Yeah. So 50 Cent, Eminem, Bow Wow, just a bunch of different people. But I remember around the same time where I started to really get introduced to like hip hop like that, that was, and I can pinpoint it now. In the moment I couldn't, but that was the same moment also where my appetite for lust began too, because I was also being introduced to different, you know, variety of women through music videos and stuff like that. And that kind of intrigued my curiosity, but also like the lyrics and what they were saying. And even now knowing what you're saying from a spiritual standpoint, they're kind of imposing those spirits on me as the listener. And I'm a child and we didn't really go to church. We went to church sometimes, but it was more or less just like to check a box. It wasn't really a relational aspect that we had. And then that kind of led me down to, you know, just trying to find new ways to satisfy this lust and looking at and stuff like that. So I do think that's all very deeply connected, and people, whether they don't want to believe it or they're just being disobedient, but I just don't understand how Christians can kind of justify listening to secular music. And even just from the standpoint of just sit and listen to the lyrics. What are they saying? Is it glorifying God or is it not? Okay, it's not. So why are you sitting here in a ritual, ingraining this into your mind and, you know, walking around singing it all day long? I don't know. It's just, it blows my mind.
And we got to be careful because, you know, music melodies, you can't guard your spirit from music melodies. Like
what do you mean?
Go to the store, they playing I remember one time, and this just as an example, Justin Bieber, Baby was out. You know, it was huge. It was playing everywhere. You go to the stores, you go anywhere, that song was being played.
Yeah.
And I was walking through the store. I think I was at like a Walmart or Target somewhere. And I don't listen to Justin Bieber, never have, never will. It's not that, you know, I think he's a bad person and none of that. I don't listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
But that song was playing and it was playing and playing. Next thing you know, like, even though I wasn't consciously trying to listen to it, I'm just doing what I'm doing. I start humming it. Have you ever done that? Christian, everybody know. You don't even have to be Christian to know that a melody can just be engraved in your spirit subconsciously, even when you're not conscious of what's going on. And so you start finding yourself singing words or saying things, and you're like, where did that come from? Well, there was a melody. They know, because frequencies in the spirit realm, these musicians, they know, just like, you know, gospel musicians, they know when, okay, well, you say a warfare sound. Well, they know how to play a minor chord that will create a warfare atmosphere where people feel like, man, I'm ready to war against the devil. Then you have what they call a worship sound, where they play in major and it's strings and all of that, where everybody lifting their hands. So if we know how to manipulate the atmospheres in church, don't you know the devil who led worship before everybody knows how to do the same thing in the secular culture? So it can manipulate the individual subconsciously. Music does that. Yeah. And I think that's why it's so big and so powerful today, that it's like a drug addiction.
Yeah.
You try to take that music away. I had a lady reach out to me from after hearing my testimony, and she wanted me to pray for her. And I tell people all the time, okay, I don't mind. I tell you guys, you could reach out to me. I will pray for you. But if you're reaching out to me and you really don't want anything, you just want me to talk to you, then that's a whole different ball game. Like, what is it that you really want? Because if you want to be changed and you want God for real, let's talk about it. But she told me that she listened to secular music and that she didn't want to give it up because secular music was her, like, a medicine to her. And I told her, so you're not willing to give that up for Christ? I'm not willing to give up secular music. I don't think nothing's wrong with it. I want it in my life and I get upset. I'm depressed when I don't have it. We have a bigger problem here, man. You know, this is a bigger spiritual problem. Now you're addicted to this other type of music that you're saying you can't give this up for Christ. We have a problem. You know what I mean? It's bigger than just listening. Now it's embedded into who you are as a person. And now that right there is where, you know, prayer is necessary.
All right, y'all. And that's not even the full interview. If you want to see the full interview, do me a big favor, because I'm assuming if you made it to this point in the video, you're a real one. I'm just going to say it because it's like an hour and a half video. You already here. You know what I'm saying? So listen, if you want to see the full video, go to the link down below in the description. You'll see all of Anthony's social media channels. Go give him a follow on every single one of those accounts and leave him an encouraging message and tell him thank you for blessing us with his discernment, with his insight, and just opening up and sharing that information with us. And I promise I will drop the full podcast. All right. Thank y'all so much for watching. And remember, next time you open up that playlist, next time you get in the car, next time you work out, remember this video when you're picking that song. All right? I'm out.